Yeah, I think you'd have to be pretty brave as a politician to say that you will enact this pushback tactic.
Even if that's what most in your party deep down think.
There's absolutely no doubt that the audience out there would love to see these boats being pushed back to the shore. But those commanders who are in charge out there that would have to make that decision are fully cognizant of the fact that these are pretty flimsy vessels. They're absolutely full to the gunwales. When we were filming there during the week, there were 50 people on board one of these vessels, not an inch of space available.
And you're literally describing it. I mean, you saw it and filmed it, and I as a viewer, not only someone who works with you at GB News, it was jaw-dropping. But even a touch from a border force light vessel could flip it over and people would die.
That's the potential and the fear, Alistair. They have tried this tactic. They even went as far as to purchase jet skis for Border Force personnel, and they enacted it on a number of occasions to try to practice the tactic to see whether it would work. They came to the conclusion that, yes, it could work, but there's a real risk that you're going to capsize, flip these vessels over, or that some of those on board decide to jump into the water, and then you've got a full-fledged rescue operation that needs to be launched.
Yeah.
So the politicians now have moved back from that particular tactic, and what they're talking about really is just more of the same. I've not heard anything from Rishi or anything from Liz Truss that's different to what Boris Johnson and Priti Patel have been offering.
The other thing that struck me sitting there, I mean, as you know, because you were kind enough to watch it, that we did them quite separately. It wasn't a debate in that sense with the two candidates, and I sat and listened to both of them carefully. And the thing that struck me first of all about Liz was that an analysis of what she said in Manchester Live last night was in effect concluding that to deal with it, they've got to get here, because what she wants to do is round up those who've broken the rules as well as the ones who are organising at great profit and then send them to Rwanda or somewhere else. But the logic of that is, therefore, they've got to get here first. They've got to cross the channel.
Yes. I mean, there's two ways that it could be done if you're talking about crossing the channel. One is a comprehensive agreement with the French, whereby any boats that come across, the people on board are picked up, then immediately returned to that side of the channel. That breaks the people smuggling model if you know that you're not going to get to the UK for much longer than just a very fleeting visit. However, they've tried that. The French are not going to sign up to that. No. So the next opportune or element that they could look at is the Rwanda policy. But that's being bogged down in the courts now through using
Let me interrupt.
ECHR.
No, crucial point, and I'll come to it in a moment, but just again for balance. The thing that struck me about Rishi's answer in that context was, not one strike, not two strikes, but three strikes and you're out. Again, the implication is that this is going to continue. Then it's going to get to a point where if he's Prime Minister, he would act.
Yeah, he wants a narrower definition of what a refugee is. So at the moment, it's being judged on the European Convention of Human Rights, what an asylum seeker is. He wants the narrower definition, as adopted by the United Nations, of what a refugee is. He wants our courts to take that factor into account. However, what the courts have been doing is they've been sort of mindful of case law in Europe because we are signed up to the ECHR. Now, neither candidate is saying at this stage that they would pull out of that convention, only that they would consider it.
Exactly. That's the crucial point I was going to say to you, because both of them, and again, we tested them on that, but we don't have time to run the whole programme. But it was, and also Liz, when she was in Lee for the People's Forum, they both pledged to seeking to reform it, but for folk with a reasonable memory, that's exactly what Dave Cameron tried to do with the European Union writ large, and we know where that ended. Europe won't reform. The European Court on Human Rights won't reform. This goes back to the 40s and the 50s.